Ireland signed off November with a hard fought win over an improving Wallabies team. Thanks, Mark. Let's talk rugby. So early in this one, Ireland they attack after winning. They have a scrum free kick after a very messy reset number of times scrum. They're about 30, 35 metres out. They go from right to left. Hugo Keenan comes on a burst, weaves through a few defenders, gets close to the line, but then a tackle from Kellaway dislodges the ball. Australia eventually clear it. A little bit, better from Ireland in terms of what we've seen, especially against the bigger nations over this November. Ireland then, still haven't eliminated, those handling errors completely though. Beelum, his knock on gives Australia a decent attacking platform from scrum in that Ireland half. And then Australia, they're finding gaps in the Irish defence early on as well, but accuracy is letting them down too. Joe McCarthy then gets pinged for a high hit on Valentini. Lolosio pops it over for 3-0 to Australia. Ireland then work it back into the Oz 22, but again, Beelum with another knock on. He didn't like a couple of minutes there where, things just didn't go his way. Australia then soaking up a lot of Irish pressure before they win a penalty and get themselves back into Irish territory. They decide to attack off the line out. Up and under into the 22. Sualihi wins it in the air. They'll go wide on the right. Prendergast with what looked like a try-saving tackle on Kellaway. But then Australia switch it all the way over to the left, and Jorgensen gets over in the opposite corner. Converted really well by Lolosio, and they've got a 10-0 lead at that point. From the restart then, Valentini leading with the elbow, penalty to Ireland. Ireland decide to go to the corner. Tupou collapses them all. Ireland kick back into the corner. Then they go to the tail to Byrne. Play it off the top. Good carries from first Doris, who did, made some really good ground. Then Hansen before Van der Fleer forces his way over to score. Prendergast misses what was a very kickable conversion, and it's 10 points to 5. Ireland then attack off a line out. They get Kelleher through a gap and into the 22. He offloads to McCarthy, who carries it on, but then Tom Wright manages to turn it over and tackle and snuffs out that danger. But, again, some decent signs from Ireland, but still not joining everything together. Ireland then on attack once more, but Lowe knocks it on. Australia counter through Wilson. He gives off to Frost, who's in support. And we remember that, Frost got that try against Wales, but Ireland managed to get him down. Then they put a kick in behind, and Henshaw just about wins the race to the ball, preventing the score. Australia then with another dangerous break. Tupou intercepting around the midfield. He doesn't have the legs. He's looking around for support. He's just on the edge of the Irish 22. He offloads. Prendergast initially does really well to get back there and claim that offload. But then he gets isolated, and Lolosio pops it over from the penalty for 13.5. Byrne then, he wins a turnover for Ireland. And shortly after, they get pinged for off the feet. Prendergast decides to go to the corner, but Ireland completely mess up the line out, and Australia eventually able to clear. Really big chance wasted there. Ireland then have the final attack of the half after a win scrum penalty. They go up the line. Again, it breaks down with an error, 13 points to 5, and a lot for Ireland to improve on from there. Australia looking pretty good in that first half. They're taking their points when they get them. Really good return from their entries into the 22. And, as I said, finding some gaps in the Irish defence as well. Into the second half then, Slipper on the wrong side at the breakdown, and it's early penalty to Ireland. Prendergast puts it over, 13 points to 8, and he felt like Ireland really needed that score because, if Australia had gotten the next score, it looked like a long way back, honestly, for Ireland. Keenan then wins a high ball in the Australia 22, and I have to say about Keenan as well. I thought this is probably his best game that he had of November. Again, I still feel like he's working his way back into the 15 setup. Still not at the level that he was before, but you can see he's beginning to get there now. Um, I'll recycle it before winning a penalty, and they decide that they're going to go to the corner. Ireland then go off the top. They recycle it, goes through the hands of some of the backs. I think Henshaw was in there, Aki as well. And then Doris is in under the post to score. Conversion then puts Ireland ahead for the first time in the game, 15 points to 13. Ireland, you can see as well, being far more aggressive at the breakdown. It's leading to a number of turnovers and just looking so much brighter as well around that breakdown area. Australia then on attack in the 22. Tom O'Toole, he's just on and he puts in a decent tackle to kill the momentum, but then he doesn't actually release and gives away a penalty. So initially, a good piece of play from him, but then he's got to release those hands and let Australia get the ball back. He doesn't, so Lalaseo then puts Australia back ahead from the tee, 16 points to 15. McWright then, he gets over the ball to win another Australia penalty, and Lalaseo continues his impressive showing from the tee, 19 points to 15. Ireland now have to do something that this team rarely do, and that's come back in the final quarter to win. Ireland then in a decent position, but line-out malfunctions yet again. They then bring on Crowley and Casey as they change the halfbacks. And then shortly after that, Gus McCarthy comes on, and alongside him, Cian Healy becomes Ireland's most capped player with 134, going out on his own ahead of Brian O'Driscoll. Australia then with a late charge, and I think there was 2 penalties, and Ireland decided to opt for the late charge when Crowley puts it into the corner. They find a man in the line out. Maul moves forward. Gus McCarthy breaks off, but Australia did really well to hold him up over the line, and there was no kind of doubt about the fact that they did hold him up. Ireland then, though, continue to apply pressure in that Australia half. Clever kick from Crowley, little grubber in behind, and Wright coming across the cover carries it out for a 5-metre line out to Ireland. Henderson then claims it in the line out. Maul's going forward, and this time they're able to actually push over the line. Gus McCarthy grounds at the back. And that was one of the best mauls that Ireland have produced all of November. I feel like in the last year or so, Ireland's maul, hasn't been all that impressive. And even for longer than that, like there's a lot of times when you see teams are able to stop the Ireland maul after maybe less than a metre or two of progress, and then Ireland have to switch it. And in the past, I talked about the fact that Sheehan being there made it look better because he's able to go from whether he's 4 or 5 meters out, he has that acceleration and that power to be able to force his way over anyway. But in this one, the maul actually worked together well, and they got themselves over to score. So that was good, and hopefully that's a good sign for the future that we can see more of those. Crowley then nails the conversion to make it 22 points to 19. Ireland leading with just over 5 minutes to go on the clock. Australia now, they've got to produce a response, but it's them now making errors under pressure from, a much improved Ireland defence in the second half. Tom Wright will knock on as they were looking, to get a foothold in the Ireland half. Then poor Edmed, he just come on for his debut, literally a few seconds, and gets his head on the wrong side in a tackle. I think it was Henshaw, gets the hip and the head type of thing. He's off for an HIA, not really, excuse me, cough is still there, but not really a great, debut for him. And you feel really sad for the guy as well. I don't care whether I'm an Ireland fan or not. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that happen to anyone anyway. Getting head knocks and stuff like that. But you don't want to see that happen to the guy in his debut. And I hope he does go on to have, a distinguished Test career as well. Remainder of the game then played in the Australia half and actually ends with them knocking on as they were trying to get over halfway. Full time, 22 points to 19. Ireland just about taking the win. So let's start with Australia because I've got a lot to say about Ireland. But we start with my impressions of Australia first. So honestly, looked pretty decent, especially comparing them to what they produced in the Rugby Championship, where they were very poor in a lot of the games. And then if you go back to before Schmidt was there in the World Cup as well, night and day at the moment between them, and you can see Schmidt's having an impact, and you feel like they're just going to keep on improving from here now. Um, and I do think Schmidt is going to kind of get them to a higher level than we've seen them for a long time. But he's always going to have that thing of, um, he's a Kiwi. He's not an Aussie, and it's going to be one of these where every mistake is going to be absolutely hammered. Like every defeat where poor performance, he's actually going to be crucified for. And if they do come up with some success, like if he wins like a Bledisloe Cup for them, he should go down as an absolute hero because I don't know when the last time Australia actually won that was. But if he does manage to do something like that, the kind of the credit he would get for that. I'm sure he's going to get plenty of praise if he does deliver it. But I think the credit in the bank will run out very quickly because you can see already there's a lot of kind of ex pros and pundits, etc. And I'm sure some of the fan base as well, just waiting to stick the knife in on the guy. And I don't think that's nice. Um, but it's the reality of the situation as well. But I personally believe maybe it's biased because Schmidt did such a brilliant job at Ireland, but I do feel like you can see that they have improved, and I think there's going to be more improvements there. But I don't think he's going to maybe get as much leeway as he should get in terms of when they're going to have sticky patches as well. But for now, I think he's the right coach for them, and hopefully, we're going to see a resurgence Australia, not just for the Lions tour next year, but in World Rugby as well. I think for rugby to grow as a sport, I think we have to have like you know the top, certainly the top 10 teams in the world should be super competitive, but we want to grow that as well outside of that down to 20, 30 teams. We're nowhere near that at the moment. Like you look at it and you think, okay, so probably the top five teams in the world at the moment. So that's like South Africa, Ireland, France, New Zealand, and Argentina. Those five teams, I think, although Ireland certainly dipped in November, but generally in the last few years have been super competitive. And then you got teams like England, who in tournaments like at the World Cup they did really really well, but have been kind of up and down a bit. And then you've got Scotland, who are thereabouts, but haven't quite broken into that top level as well. But you want more teams than that to be competitive. So having Australia coming back, I think, is a good thing. In terms of kind of some individuals to pick out, I thought McWright was excellent throughout. Tupou, very impressive in the loose, and his overall contribution as well. I think Valentini looked really good in the first half, kind of went out of things in the second half. Lolaseo, very composed performance from him. Suilihi, not as impactful as we've seen him in other games, but you can see that overall he's definitely going to have a positive impact there. And excuse me, so there's a lot of good things for them, and as well they found gaps in the first half and they forced errors from Ireland with the defence as well. And overall, I think there's plenty for them to build on from this. Now, onto the Irish side of things. So first of all, Farrell going to be happy that he's going on his sabbatical with a win, but still, I don't think this November has been as beneficial, sorry, to Ireland's preparations, for this next World Cup cycle as maybe it could have been. I still think Ireland look below their kind of usual standards, or what we've come to expect from them, at least in recent years. You definitely got to give some credit to Australia for that, but also there's definitely still problems that haven't been solved from the Irish side. Line out once again poor, and you have to wonder why did they struggle so much at line out, especially when they have like Paul O'Connell there, like as one of the coaches. Like, why is that? What's going on? You know, I honestly can't remember a run of game like the last time we had a run of games where Ireland's line out went smoothly um, over the last couple of years. So it always seems to be Ireland struggling to line out. Then maybe the next game to talk about how they fixed the issues that were there, and then the next game after that they're back to struggling again. We never seem to have a decent line out that can be reliable, and that's down through from the Schmidt era and then into the Farrell era as well. Like the lineout has been one of our main platforms of attack, especially kind of on the edge of the 22. So many times, go off the top and spread the ball. That's where we've got so many moves to find gaps, and you see it at Leinster as well. There's a lot of moves off lineouts in and around that area, but Ireland, whatever's going on, it's just not happening in the line out. And it's something that they've got to sit down properly and fix it. You can't just be like, well, we'll make it good for the next game. We'll kind of patch it up. Yeah, you got to look at it and see, what's going wrong on our side and what other teams are doing to make things go wrong on our side as well, and then find solutions for those. So that the team can fix things themselves within games as well. Um, Next end, the scrum honestly was decent. I felt like our scrum was improved through this November, which is good because again, people again probably there's always kind of say like kind of stereotypes about teams that Australia have a weak scrum, Argentina have a good scrum, and that's probably switched in the last few years. Australia have worked really well, are really hard on their scrum, and they've actually got a decent scrum. And Argentina have, while they don't have a terrible scrum, certainly not as good in the scrum as they used to be, but they've improved the rest of their play immensely. But yeah, I thought scrum was good, and that's good to see. Thought Prendergast went well at 10. And overall, thought this starting and replacement halfbacks did good. And that's, I think that's great to see as well because, you know, from me or from my point of view, we want competition. And, it's great to see, Casey getting the nod on the bench. And I thought that, himself and Crowley brought us home pretty well. I want to see whether it's Prendergast or Crowley or Frawley, uh, those guys pushing each other to reach new levels. I don't want to see kind of stale thing where it's like this guy is number one and everyone else is finding out to be who's on the bench. You want that kind of healthy competition in there. I don't like this whole kind of idea of saying, oh, whether and it sometimes it's provincial and sometimes it's just personal, where somebody says, oh well, I'm a Leinster fan and therefore I want Prendergast to do well and I want Crowley to do badly because then Prendergast will keep the 10 jersey and maybe Frawley will just lodge him on on the bench for Ireland. I don't want to see that. Like I want to see Prendergast doing well and Crowley doing well. And for me, I think Crowley is still should be our starting number 10 with Prendergast and Frawley in there in that mix in the competition. And then, it should be a case that if one of them isn't delivering, then you can put the other one in and have them deliver. And then, maybe they have the start now, but then the next guy gets a go again. It's not a case of one mistake and you're gone, you're out of the picture. And I think with the three that we have now, and then we have others below them as well, that have kind of represented Ireland with distinction as well in the past, that we can build up a proper depth at 10 because we've talked about having depth at 10 for a long time. We have the opportunity now. Let's not throw it away. Next, then, I thought Lowe was poor. Probably, I didn't think overall he's had a great November. Um, And you know, part of it again, I think, is maybe again a lack of competition. I think in terms of, like, we saw Stockdale coming in for the it was the Fiji game, right? But nobody expected that there'd be competition for him to actually start in this one, you know. And it feels like we need that competition in in all our positions, so that the guys who are starting feel like, you know, that they're there on merit, but also that they've got to perform, because if they don't, somebody else can slot in, and the other person slots in can do well. So, but still, he's a great player. Just got to maybe fix some of the errors, and for Ireland overall, there still were lots of errors in this one. Thought though the midfield went well, including Ringrose when he come on as well. Burns' performance, a step up from what we've seen from him the rest of November, and it's great to see, because when he's playing well, I think it gives Ireland a completely new dimension as well, because the guy has that ability, win turnovers, get it, get in there, disrupting at the breakdown, disrupting as well, picking off offloads and stuff like that, offloading himself, his contribution, in maul defense and maul attack as well, just kind of again lifts us up and gives us another dimension. So that's really positive and good to see. And then, I thought as well the whole back row went really well, especially against what is a very good Australia back row. You have to give them credit as well. They had good impact, especially in that first half. Um, Bench then very positive overall. I think everyone did well when they come on, and it's even good to see the likes of Peter Manny, Healy, and Henderson all playing their part. Although I talked about in the preview where I would still think we need to kind of move away from them and go with younger options. But once they're picked, I'm not going to be wishing that those players played badly just to prove a point. Um, and I know that there are people out there like that. They'll be like, oh, whoever Henderson, oh, he's done. Like, look how bad he was, or whatever. For me, if he's playing in green, he's playing for Ireland, or if I'm watching playing for Ulster, I want to see him play well. I don't want to see him play badly. But at the same time, I look at the options that are there that in the provinces. You've got Sheridan up there, Ulster. You've got the likes of Ahern, who's just been tearing up threes um, for Munster, and there are other players who could have come in and maybe had a gotten a nice kind of run in the team this stage as well. So, but again, these guys did well. They did what was asked of them, and they brought Ireland home. Um, Next, then, Gus McCarthy thought did really well too. Uh, but something to consider is when Sheehan comes back at Leinster, the IRFU then they need it's something they need to address now, not like leave it till the end of the season or a few seasons to go. You need to be looking at what they're going to do, because you're going to have Sheehan, Kelleher, and McCarthy all at Leinster, and potentially given how well McCarthy did, obviously at the moment to say Herring is ahead of him in the pecking order, but potentially you could have like the the first three uh, choices for hooker for Ireland all being at the same province. Doesn't make sense. I'm a Leinster fan, but again, I don't like to see stuff like this. Um, you know, so for me, it would make sense that either Kelleher or Gus McCarthy get moved to another province, so that we can have, like, if that's the pecking order for Ireland, where three of those hookers are in our top four choices, um, one of them has to go to another province. It doesn't make sense. They're not going to get the game time they need at Leinster. So we'll have to kind of watch the space for that one. But then great to see O'Toole getting some decent minutes as well, and also Beelum getting a bit of a rest, because he had that one. Who was it against? Was it against New Zealand? I think it was, right, where he come off and immediately O'Toole went off with a head knock, I think, and he had to come back on and basically play the entire game. So he's put in quite a shift this November, I think. Um, but yeah, some good performance from Ireland, but you still feel like they haven't produced as a team like a really knit together performance. Next up for them then is the Six Nations under caretaker head coach Simon Easterby. I'm hoping it's we're going to see some actual progress in terms of bringing some of those younger players through, and we're not going to kind of see some kind of holding pattern until Farrell returns. I don't want us to kind of waste the guts of a year simply because our head coach has gone off to do the lines. Um, Results wise, for this November, I think it's a pass mark for Ireland. Certainly coming in to this November, I think most Ireland fans and pundits or whatever would have said like that they would expect Ireland to win at least 3 or 4 uh, of their games, given how they went in the Six Nations, how competitive they were against South Africa, down in South Africa, etc. And the fact that we just about scraped that, like with tour wins being by 3 points. Yeah, it's a pass mark for Ireland, and not much more. On results, on performance, I think it's below that. It certainly needs to improve. Um, but something to think about as well um, is are we gonna at some stage look back at this as a missed opportunity to bring through some players at loose head, uh, or in the second row or whatever, right? Or get some more competition for our wing spots or stuff like that. Um, and start actually developing that depth at test level. There's no point in, I feel, the coaches just talking about how, oh, we don't have the players with the experience and blah blah blah. Well, give them the experience, and if they don't work out, they don't work out. That's fine. You can just turn around and say, I told you so. Um, but you can't just leave players running around in provinces and say, oh well, I know they wouldn't be good set up. Um, yeah, so it's one of those, right? Are we going to look back and say, yeah, maybe like maybe we could have brought some other players through? And personally, I feel like again bringing those young guys through. We saw the likes of McCarthy. Then we had Clarkson as well at tight head, and then Izuchuku who come on too. He wasn't amazing, but still all had positive impact on the squad, and that's what you get when you bring through and the like Prendergast obviously as well, all having really good impact. And that's what you want to see. You want to see these guys coming through, but you don't want to see it where it's just happening through necessity. Clarkson wouldn't have seen game time this November if Furlong had been available, and that's just kind of um, how things are at the minute. But um, you know, the thing for me is that we've done okay in November, but not brilliant. But all that said, one thing I've got to say a big thank you to all of you guys, because you keep giving me great support. And it's not just I know I look at things a lot from Irish perspective, but I know I've had people from Kiwis, people from Fiji, from South Africa, obviously Irish people, Welsh, Scottish, English, um, you know, basically the whole rugby world, like posting comments and interacting and doing it very positively as well, and giving me encouragement, and that's a really big help for me, especially when uh, you know I'm making videos when I'm not feeling all that well, but I'm looking forward to making them because of the way um, you guys kind of support me, and I honestly can never express how much that means to me. It feels like whatever words I say kind of almost sound like hollow and they don't sound genuine, but because I can't find honestly can't find the words to say how much it means. Because like, listen, I'm just some guy who got into rugby, whatever it was, 20 odd years ago. Like, kind of came late to the game, um, and just fell in love with it. And I'm so happy that I can share my passion and my love for the game with you guys, and just be able to chat with you. And it doesn't matter whether you've never posted a comment. If you just watch the videos and you enjoy them, that's fine with me too. Because I do the same thing. I watch stuff on YouTube. I enjoy people's contents, but content, sorry, but I don't always kind of post comments and stuff like that. So don't feel any pressure that you have to do anything like that. But those of you who do, just know that I really appreciate it, and those of you who just watch, again, I really appreciate you. I can't say thank you enough for that. And like, the channel has been growing kind of steadily over the last few years, and it's just great to see. It kind of keeps me motivated, and just making sure that I keep those videos coming. I've got big ambitions for the channel. I don't have the time. Like, I realized that last year. There's so much stuff I wanted to do. I don't have the time to do the stuff that my ambition, to fulfill that ambition in terms of the kind of stuff that I want to do. But I'm still going to keep the videos coming as best I can. We're going to be back with a review of the weekend's URC action. That's probably going to be out, I would imagine, on Monday. Maybe it's going to come out tomorrow, but probably Monday. It's normally Monday. I do those. Then we'll do previews for Champions Cup and Challenge Cup as well. Probably an overall preview of each of the competitions, and then maybe some previews of some of the big games as well. So you've got all of that to look forward to, and I hope you guys join me on those.